What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, and we bring you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream over on Twitch at This Is Aftersound, so come by, say hello. We do giveaways every stream, and we do giveaways every here. We do giveaways every week here on the channel. All you have to do is leave your in-game username in the comments, and I pick out my favorite comments on the weekly Q&A videos, which usually come out or are at least recorded every Monday. So, topic for today is just, we're going to have a little fun. I want to speculate on some of the potential summoner abilities, right? So we know that there's going to be a rare summoner and a legendary summoner. So 2 summoners for each splinter. And yeah, there's a lot of abilities out there that haven't necessarily been covered by summoners. And while I may go into some of those, I am actually fascinated with the new abilities that have come in, and I think these are going to come into play with some of these summoners. So I'm on Splinter cards right here. I'm just going to go and use their abilities tool. It's super, I don't know, I like the interface. It's clean, and it helps me learn a lot about the game. So there are, I believe, 4 summoners here that or sorry, not 4 abilities here that I want to take a look at. Amplify, which currently is only available for Venari Heatsmith. These are all going to be the new abilities that have been introduced in the rewards cards, right? So Amplify, if you are not familiar with what Amplify does, it increases Magic Reflect, Return Fire, and Thorns damage to all enemy monsters by 1. So this makes me feel like, I don't know if it would be a legendary summoner that has multiple abilities that it's giving, or just a single, or a rare summoner that has a single ability. And it just makes me feel like, Amplify is new. There's going to be a lot of monsters, I feel, that will be able to benefit from it, either by having Amplify themselves, or by having one of the features that offer, or that make Amplify worth having, right? So Magic Reflect, Return Fire, Thorns damage. So This actually makes me a little bit more bullish on Venari Heatsmith. I haven't been grabbing as many of them as I probably should have, because they're usually one of the cheapest ones in the market as well. So now I really want to make sure that I have one that can reach that ability. I believe you get it at level 6. And so can we see here? Yes, level 6. Perfect. Okay. Looks like they have it right there at level 6. So this is one that I feel like could be huge for a summoner, right? Because if you have monsters that have these abilities, right? And Venari Heatsmith is actually one that wouldn't be able to benefit from this, right? Venari Heatsmith does have Thorns, but I don't believe that a fire summoner would have this ability, just because you already have Venari Heatsmith on the fire team that can give it to the rest of your monster squad. So if this was going to be an ability, I don't think it would be a fire summoner ability. Okay, this is a fun one. Backfire. Right now, it's only available on 2 cards. Pelacor Deceiver and Naga Assassin, and it looks like on Pelacor Deceiver you get it at level 6. On Naga Assassin you get it on level 4. And for those who aren't familiar with what it does, is if an enemy misses this monster with an attack, the attacker takes 2 damage. So if you've seen some of the speed meta that's been out there, people have been using these cards with Kitty, and some of these slower monsters cannot hit them, like, at all. And now these misses are going to be damaging, right? So they're actually going to be very punishing to the monsters that are not able to hit them. And as you can see at these levels, I believe these are the levels that they will be at level 6 and level 4. Pelacor Deceiver has flying and a speed of 4. Naga Assassin has a speed of 5. So there's a lot of really interesting things that could be put into this. And I feel like if anything, I feel like not necessarily a dragon summoner would offer this. I'm trying to figure out what splinter might benefit the most. And to me, this might be too much, right? Because if there was going to be a splinter, it might be fire, right? Because fire is known for being fast, except that Pyre, right? Or Pyre, one of the more recent one of the more recent releases, the rare summoner from Untamed, has the +1 speed ability, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what team it would be the best with, and it's really hard to say. I don't know if it's necessarily like a dragon ability. Obviously Naga Assassin has it already, but I can see this being something really, really fascinating for a team. And here's why I feel like dragon might make the most sense, is simply because it could make a very strong splinter. Like it could unbalance the game quite a bit, right? Because every splinter has fast cards or high speed cards, and you might just be able to get away with like stacking your team, not even like smartly, but just stacking your team with fast players and having the opponent essentially kill themselves because they can't hit you, right? So I don't know. This combined with the fact that Dr. Blight will be, and there might be some other speed metas out there, it's going to be really interesting to see if a summoner is given this ability. And I don't know, for me, my personal thought, and before we even get through all of them, my personal thought is that each of the abilities that I'm going through today, I do believe will be a summoner buff. I don't know, but this is all obviously speculation, but there's only a limited amount of abilities, and I don't know if there will be more introduced once Chaos Legion is actually here. But it would just make sense to include these and or at least some of these, in my opinion, for the new Chaos Legion summoners to really shake up the game. So we got Amplify, we got Backfire. Was there more? 2 more or 3 more? Here we go. Deathflow. Well, actually, let's go to Camouflage. I believe there's 5 total that have been introduced. So Camouflage right now, Jin Biljka has this, and I haven't been able to utilize it in a way. I haven't been able to utilize this card in a way, but I can see Camouflage being very, very valuable. And I wonder, obviously, a summoner cannot give your entire team Camouflage, right? But in the same way that, for example, what they could do, this would essentially be a reverse taunt, right? Because it's accomplishing the same thing as taunt, but just in the reverse format, where you could essentially give any frontline creature taunt if the entire back line was given, what is this called? If the entire back line is given Camouflage by a summoner. That seems very powerful. But then again, so is Yodin, and so is Llama, and so is Kitty to a certain extent, right? But this would be a very interesting ability if it is able to be given from a summoner, right? And you don't have to have it in a certain card, because then you can really use the meta to play this with any specific creature, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of really cool combos that come out of that. All right, let's go with, is it Double Strike? No, not Double Strike, Deathblow. All right, so this is number 4 out of 5 total that we have, or that I wanted to cover. Deathblow is interesting. This is actually one that I don't know. It's deemed the Kron killer, and right now only Gargoyle Devil has it. It's hard to see this one as a it's hard to see this one as a summoner buff, just because I don't know how beneficial it is, right? Every team starts with up to 6 cards, but maybe where this could come in handy is, let's say you are playing in a low mana game, right? And the opponent will really only have an option for 1 to 2 monsters to be competitive. Now, Deathblow could become huge, because all of a sudden the summoner that gives that to one of your monsters, or maybe to all of your monsters, will have the ability to essentially do double the attack, right? So you can kind of plan around that. And that, okay, never mind. That actually does seem like a pretty cool meta. Especially, I don't see this being a 7 mana, like a legendary summoner buff, but I can see it being a rare summoner buff. So a 3 mana, and let's say you're playing one of those like 12 mana games, and somebody wants to come in with like a Living Lava or a Torhilo or some other like big tank that, would probably dominate you if you didn't have Deathblow, or didn't have the ability to give Deathblow to all of your monsters. Like, all of a sudden you're essentially doubling the damage that you can deal every single round, and that could be pretty cool. Again, I don't know any specific splinters that this would go with, but it'd be interesting to see it play out that way. All right, last one is going to be Force Field. This is the one with Jin Oceanus right now, and you really only get this at higher levels, so level 3 for Jin Oceanus. What it does is this monster takes only 1 damage from attacks with a power of 5+. So this is another Kron killer, right? Because when Kron is in Last Stand with Llama, you are taking 5 damage from that. And so now Oceanus not only has Void, but every damage above 5 gets reduced to 1. This would be interesting if you're able to give it to your back line. Like, it would be like an anti-sandworm type of deal, right? But I can see Force Field being given like in a similar way, like Force Field is given to maybe just your tank. Although the summoner, the abilities aren't really defined in that way, right? Like when you go to Cleanse, removes all negative effects from the monster in the first position on the friendly team, right? So any monster can have Cleanse there, or any summoner can have Cleanse like Llama does. Whereas this monster only takes 1 damage from attacks with power 5+. So I don't know. I don't know that I can necessarily see this one, because if it's a summoner buff, I assume all of the monsters are taking it, or all of the monsters are getting it, which could be actually somewhat interesting, but that seems very, very overpowering. So if I had to guess, again, I think that all of these will be utilized in one way or another, but I could be wrong. And this is all just kind of like fun speculation, so don't hold me to it. For me, though, I think the biggest ones that are the ones that have the highest chance would be Amplify and Backfire. And I apologize, because I don't think that we spoke through the definitions of Camouflage, which this monster cannot be targeted for attacks unless it's in the first position. And then, not Demoralized, but Deathflow. This monster does 2x damage if their target is the only monster left on the enemy team, right? So if I had to rate them in terms of chances of being used as a summoner buff, and you know what would be fun is we'll be able to look back at this video, and if I got it right, that'll be awesome. If I don't, then we all get to laugh at my silliness at the whole thing. But I would say tier 1 for me is Amplify and Backfire. Tier 2 would be Deathblow, and then tier 3 would be Camouflage and Force Field. Just because those, if you're giving it to every single monster, can be very OP, right? Especially something like Camouflage. Well, actually, both Camouflage and Force Field, because all of a sudden you're reducing anything that's over 5 damage to 1, right? And if you're going against some like really OP players, I mean, actually, it's not a bad idea, because then what the other team might do is make sure that they are putting in monsters that can only do 4 or less damage, right? And as we start exploring more things like poison, and I'm only thinking of poison right now because Venari Bonesmith has poison, but yeah, okay. Well, there's a lot of cards that have poison. But as we start thinking about how the meta of the game could potentially change if these are given as summoner buffs rather than just to individual creatures, it could get really interesting, right? Because then immunity becomes very important. Poison becomes maybe even more valuable in some ways, right? So there's a lot of different things that can happen. I'm obviously very excited, and I obviously have no idea what I'm talking about. So this is, like I said, this is just me kind of thinking through what the new abilities are. And like I said, I think that there is a high chance that they get used as summoner buffs. At least those top 3, Amplify, Backfire, and Deathblow. It'd be cool to see Camouflage and Force Field, because I think those would be overpowering, but maybe not overpowering in the sense where they imbalance the game dramatically, right? Maybe it just ends up being something that changes the meta and becomes part of the strategy now. And like, you know, since we can see up to the last 5 battles of other players, our opponents, if you see someone playing with that, you can definitely plan ahead, right? So actually, maybe I take it all back. Maybe I do believe that they'll all be in there. Who knows? All right, well, that's all I have for you guys today. It was just something fun. I was kind of scrolling through Splinter cards and the different abilities here, and just thought that I would kind of speak through all the new abilities in case people weren't familiar with them already. And the fact that after looking at them, I do feel somewhat confident that most or all will be used potentially for summoner buffs, just to give us something different from what we've already seen. So hopefully this was fun for you guys. I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know why you think I'm right or wrong, and we can continue the conversation in the comment section. All right, guys, I will catch you in the next video, and I will see you around the game. Have an awesome rest of your day.